What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Tomorrow, and today I have a gear review on the Sanabul Lab Series 2.0 training gloves. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, as today I have a re-review of the Sanabul Lab Series training gloves, and these are actually a 2.0 prototype version that they plan to release sometime soon here. And I'm excited to do this video because you might have seen my review, I think back in like November, December, or earlier even, of the original Sanabul Lab Series, and they received my lowest score I'd given. I gave them a 4 out of 10 because they were just uncomfortable. They slipped out of my hand a bunch. They were so tight on the hand compartment. The wrist strap flew off all the time. And on top of it, $150. There were so many different options out there that I flat out said I did not like these. Well, it was a few months later where I did an unboxing of a ton of different Sanabul MMA sparring gloves. And then Sanabul actually reached out to me and they said that they liked my reviews and they wanted to send me some gloves. And I have reviewed some of the beginner level stuff. And then they saw my review of the Lab Series and they apologized for it. They took a lot of my considerations or a lot of my complaints into consideration, and I'm not the sole reason why, but even some of their athletes said that there were some complaints about them. Guys like Gilbert Burns, Alex Bejeda, and everyone else actually pitched in and gave ideas of how to improve the glove. So they sent me this glove as their prototype for their pre-release, and I must say I am absolutely blown away that a big brand like Sanabul, you know, sometimes with big brands fault stuff, they just don't release it again, or they just let, you know, they sell what they have and then they let it go. But in this case, they actually made a lot of really good improvements to this glove, and I have actually enjoyed using this since I unboxed these in mid-February. Now, I want to state this right off the bat. Yes, these were sent to me, and a lot of people are saying, oh, you gave a bad review, oh, they're just going to send you money and you're going to do this. I actually had one really, and I hate to sound like a jerk like this, I had one idiot comment that and say something along the lines of, you know, oh, well, it's because they sent you money. For one, no, I never get money for any of my reviews, because at the end of the day, there are three things that people better not mess with me, and that is my training, my safety, and of course my money. I don't like when people mess with my money, but I don't make money doing the channel like that. You know, ask any of the other reviewers. We do this because we love to do it. It's fun. I don't do this because I make money. I'm not sponsored by Sanabul in any way. And also on top of it, guys, why would Sanabul need any type of opinion from a guy like me when they have literal world champions in the UFC using their gear every day? Guys like Max Holloway, Gilbert Burns, Alex Bejeda, Sugar Sean O'Malley. Name a couple other guys from the past too that were sponsored before they retired, like TJ Dillashaw, Michael Bisping, Tyron Woodley. They don't need Al Morrow. Who knows who I am, right? So at the end of the day, no, I am not being paid for this review. They made genuine improvements, and I think we should actually applaud Sanabul for doing something like that for as big as a brand they are. So Zach from Sanabul, who sent me these gloves, show him some love in the comments. Super great guy. I love talking to him. But I unboxed these a few days after my last fight, and basically I have been using them a lot ever since. I actually used these last night, and I've really enjoyed using these now. They've made tons of improvements, which is funny too because the glove feels so much better, and they even sent me a smaller size. These are actually 14 ounces compared to 16. But the Lab Series is basically their other pro level glove. They have a few other models out there, like they have Sugar Sean O'Malley's and Max Holloway's gloves, but they also have the Gold Strike, which is famous. It's like a winning S type glove that that Sanabul made, and I really enjoyed that glove. compared to some other gloves out there. I think I gave that one like a 7 out of 10. There were other gloves I'd recommended over that, but when I unboxed the original, I did not like them whatsoever. But I'm glad that they made a lot of improvements, because there were so many highlights that the glove could have had, and now they have those highlights, which is great. So let's start out with the exact model I have, starting out with, once again, you have the Sanabul Lab series here, and we got them only in one color, and that is the black with the white tag there. And also, they don't come in lace up yet. I never asked Zach if they were. I imagine they will down the line, because the Gold Strike does have lace ups, but they are in Velcro for now. And you can get them in 10, 12, 14, and 16 ounces. And like I said, this is the second version of the Lab series. This is not the original, but they sent me a 14-ounce pair of gloves this time around. They sent me 14-ounce pairs of the Battlefords too, but funny enough, they fit my hand really well as well. And these actually fit my hand better than the 16 ounces of the first version I got, which is crazy. And we come into the look of the glove just like the original. Nothing's changed as far as the design goes. It is one solid midnight black. Oh, sorry, I don't know why that's blurring. It's one solid midnight black color that you have going throughout the back of the glove, and the logo there that you can see, that Sanabul logo that's like embossed into the artificial leather. You got some smooth sweeping lines that are also embossed into the engineered leather as well. The rest of the punch surface and the tip of the fingers is all black. When we come down here, you have a white Sanabul embossed right in there. It's a white Sanabul logo. The palm has more of like a reflective plastic type material. It's still your engineered leather, but it feels more like, you know, a grippy type of plastic in some ways. Then when we come down to the wrist cuff, you have more of that reflective type plastic material. It's a poly material for sure. And then you got the Sanabul lettering also embossed into it. When you open the glove up, you have black Velcro, and you have black Velcro on the back. It reveals more of that reflective material. You also have a rubber patch right here that you can see that has a Sanabul logo on it as well. And then also the interior lining is black. And you can see we also have that elastic band, which if you remember last time I actually cut off, but this is also black here. So overall, it is a solid black glove. It is as basic gets, right? It's black with a couple white letterings, which is still pretty good, and I like the way that the glove looks. Now we come to the build of the glove just like it was before. We have the outer shell being of their top grade engineered leather that they use, and like their Gold Strike that they use for the Lab series. It's above the engineered leather that Sanabul uses for the Essential, for the Core series, for their Battlefords. Although I will say the Battlefords and the Lab series have closer similarities. These definitely feel more like an actual like hide leather. This feels super real. That was the one thing I said about the last one. It feels real. It feels like an actual leather. And you can even see that it kind of has like those artificial grain marks going throughout the artificial leather here, which is always cool that people can pull stuff off like that. It feels very similar to like Hayabusa's. They, you know, they call it the Varla leather or whatever they call it now, but it feels very similar to that microfiber composite basically that they got going on here, and that's basically what this engineered leather is. It's more of like a microfiber composite, similar to like Onyx Sports in some ways, a little bit smoother, and it feels really good. And you have that throughout the entirety of the glove. The padding's the same as well. It's just distributed a little bit different. You can see that it's more of a conical shape compared to the last one where it was kind of fat throughout the entirety of the glove. You can see that it actually got thin towards the base but got bigger and wider up towards the top. And that's basically what you got going on here now. The padding is still your high layered, it's your high density multi-layered foams, very similar to their Gold Strike, very similar to a lot of other gloves out there that use that method. It's basically soft open cell foams that breathe and also cradle your knuckles very well. And it's a couple different layers. And the first thing I noticed right off the bat when I got them out of the box is that they were so much softer than they were before. These gloves felt broken in when I took them out, and the padding is so much softer compared to these ones, which still feel really stiff. Actually, and I've had these for a while now. This is the 16-ounce ones. And I'll just keep these off to the side for now. The 16-ounce originals. Those were really stiff. These felt broken in off the bat, and using them, they broke in even a little bit more, and the padding feels like butter now, and it's awesome. I love that feeling. So it protects you overall. You have that one solid foam mold, too, and it actually connects very well to the base of the wrist strap. But the thumb also is in a nice curved position and has that same foam material. It is a little bit stiffer around the thumb. Obviously, we're not smashing our thumb on things, so that's going to stay a little bit harder than the knuckle surface. But at the end of the day, it feels really good. Then we come down to the padding on the back of the hand where the curves and stuff are that you can see. It's still very soft and cradles the wrist very well. Now, the one thing that I still don't like about this glove is that the Velcro is still very weak, just like the last one was. It flaps off very easily, and that's one thing I don't like about this glove so much, is that it does flap off very easily. And it also has the wrist strap that still goes on the inside, so it'll like cut across to your wrist a little bit easier, which is fine. Sometimes I like when it kind of goes off to the side, but in this case, it does hug your wrist very well. The interior lining is still your poly cotton, and it's very soft. It feels a little bit smoother actually than the last one. I will say that. I don't know if they made much of a difference with that. It does feel smoother than the last one. This one felt much more rigid and rough, and it felt like there wasn't nearly as much padding to it as this one. This one actually feels thicker at the base of the wrist, and you still have some of that material here, that reflective material underneath that, some EVA foam to wrap around your wrist a lot better, and that feels actually more malleable. It feels softer than before, so it's able to really hug and cradle your wrist. The grip bar also is not as hard as it was before either. It's actually pretty soft of a grip bar compared to the original. The original was kind of like stiff and felt like a hose pipe I was mentioning, and it still kind of feels that way up here. So I do like that the glove in general just feels softer. The other thing too is, even for a 14-ounce glove, which is supposed to be smaller, you can see that it is like maybe a hair smaller in width. But remember, with this glove, I had to cut the elastic strap in the center because it was squeezing my palm so bad that it was cutting off circulation. In this case, I didn't have to do that. When I slide my hand in, it slides in perfectly, and it's just a comfortable fit and feel now. That's what I love about this glove now, is that it actually fits comfortably, and that is always a reassuring thing for me. I don't like having to force my hand and crawl it into the glove. If I'm ever just want to put my hand in a glove, it should be as easy as that, and that's all it is. And it's much more flexible now. It's so easy. If I strap that, it hugs onto my wrist a lot easier too, but it's so easy to open and close my hand now compared to what it was before. I can still get a solid, much more solid grip on the back of my arms, my wrist, my head for like tie work, and it feels, the padding feels good. And in fact, now that it's softer, and like I said, it's 14 ounces, so I don't think Sanabul's too much of a brand that takes the padding away. I think it's more just the sizing of the glove. But this feels more padded than the 16-ounce glove that I had, and on top of it, it's softer. So it almost has like a nice soft pillow / puncher hybrid feel to it now, and I love that. The wrist support is pretty good, though I do like how it's still splinted down. And like I said beforehand, now this is just this natural curve. It barely dips down. It's much more balanced now, which is nice. If I take this, it's not going forward like it was before, and I'm right in the middle of the glove. Whereas this one, you can see that it dips down a lot. So when you have your wrist on that, it's basically curving down, and you don't like how that works. I prefer to have it a little bit straighter and just line up with my knuckles just fine. So overall, it now doesn't really splint your wrist so bad that it's making it go down into a natural position. It's just naturally in that spot, which is always good. Much more flexible. The thumb feels good. The palm has room, and there's room on the inside of the glove for me to wrap my hand, which I love. I can wrap my hand big in this glove if I wanted to, which is crazy because, like I said, this is a 14-ounce glove size / weight compared to the 16-ounce glove that I had before. The only thing I will say is the interior lining is still a little bit baggy, and you kind of have to push your fingers around a bit sometimes. And sometimes when I punch, my fingers do still kind of crawl out just a little bit. That happens to me with a lot of gloves. I think it's because my fingers are short. My palms and hands are so big, but my fingers are short. But in general, the punching ability with this glove is so much better. It's much more secure on my wrist. Like I even just to kind of show you, like I'm turning it and the glove's not moving at all on my wrist. It's not like twisting at the base or anything. Like I said, the one thing I don't like about it is the Velcro is still very weak, and especially when it comes off down there, you can scrape and cut your sparring partners. But even when you spar, most of the time you're going to tape it down, and you might actually see a little bit of tape residue kind of off at the corner here because I had to tape them. Last night we were sparring actually, and I had to tape them down. But that was the idea behind these gloves. They definitely made some, well, not some, the whole gloves improved. But let's go into the bag work in the model view, and then we'll go into my final thoughts. The first thing you'll notice when trying the new version of the Lab Series out is that the glove is more flexible and that the material is able to move with your hand. So you're able to actually form a natural fist that protects your wrist and knuckles a lot more than the old one used to. I'm able to wail into the bags a lot more, let my hands fly, and really work clinches a lot better. Overall, they just made the glove functional and I can actually use them, and I love that. So when it comes to the look of the glove, nothing's changed from the original review. Basically, it's still just a black and white glove. But once again, talking about the upgrades as far as the actual functionality of the glove is that it is a much looser glove and that you're actually able to open and close your hands much easier, as you can see there. Great for clinch work, really good for parrying and catching punches. Better glove overall. All right, folks, so my final verdict for the Sanabul Lab Series 2.0. For one, I can't believe that a big brand like Sanabul, right, one of the biggest brands in the world that sold millions of units of different products to people, actually listened to someone like me. Obviously, they have big names too, but actually made the changes. You know what I mean? That's the one thing that I can't believe about this glove is that they made the changes that people wanted. If you had a big brand like Everlast, right, that sold millions upon millions of gloves of like their Power Lock model alone, then they're not going to listen to a word anyone has to say. Oh, we're making the money, we're good. Whereas Sanabul, like talking to Zach, who's a product development specialist, right, and basically in the job he's in, say, no, we're not happy with that. We want to make the improvements. That's incredible. And that shows a brand that really cares as well. And I know what all the people might be saying. They pay me out. I'm sponsored by Sanabul. For one, I am a professional fighter. Sanabul doesn't sponsor me. They never once asked to sponsor me. I can share the emails. I can ask Zach. I'm sure he'd be okay with them. He just sent me these so I can make an honest review, and that was it. And on top of it, why would they need my word for it unless they just want to make sure that they cover all their bases? Because like I said, 3 names off the bat who are champions in the UFC right now. Max Holloway, Alex Bejeda, and Sugar Sean O'Malley. 3 of the biggest stars in the sport right now use these. Okay? They don't need me. So I got a couple comments about that, and to the people that put that, you know, no, I don't do that. Plus, I don't make that money off the YouTube channel. I could stop this and really not have a financial impact at all. I do this because I like to, you know, get that out of the way. But the fact that Sanabul made the changes and made the glove usable. Do you know how much it hurt to see these gloves just sit on a shelf because I really didn't use them, the originals, right? I buy all these gloves not only because I like to collect them and they're cool, but because I like to use them. I have the luxury to say I want to feel a certain way. Every different feeling I have is a different glove I can use. Some days I want to use Savas, Rival. Some days I want to use Fortress. Some days I'm just seeing Ringside, Everlast. Maybe I want to use Top King, Boone, you know, other brands. I can do that, which is pretty cool. With those, it hurt my soul, the fact that I had a pair of gloves that I just would never use because they just weren't good to me. And I was thinking, man, it's one of the few times I would just give gloves away. I usually don't. I buy them and they're in my collection for a reason. But with that said, let's talk about the things that I like about the glove compared to what it was now. First off, the shape of the glove. Now, this is a 14-ounce glove, but you can see that it's really not all that different from the 16-ounce original pair that I had. These are maybe slightly, I think these are actually just like a hair taller, but you can see how much more that these curve down here, right, compared to these being a little bit more up. This part here is a little bit more open, so you can have more flexibility, because when you have the padding that curves down that much, it's going to be harder to open and move all that padding up. Then when we come down to the padding here being able to move, on top of it all, it's more of a conical shape. And conical basically means that it's smaller at the base and it gets wider once it gets up towards the top. You can see that it's smaller around the wrist where it's really going to have to strap onto a smaller part of your hand. Then when we get up here, you can see that it gets wider towards the top, which is absolutely awesome. So it's conical and it straps to your hand a lot more, because you can see your hand's conical as well. It goes small, small, big, big, and that's what you got in the widest part of your hand. being your knuckles towards the top. And that's basically what you got here. Whereas the other glove was just a flat, straight up shot. And that's what you got going on there. It's a little bit thinner around the wrist, but not that much compared to this one. So I like that conical shape. On top of it, the padding feels a lot softer, which makes the glove more flexible and smooth, which is perfect, especially when you got MMA fighters. Even though Max Holloway, Alex Pereira, Sugar Sean O'Malley are known as strikers, they still have to grapple with big gloves on. I guarantee they do that a lot. And you really want a glove that's more flexible. And the cool part is about this glove, compared to the last one, I had to cut the elastic strap in the center so I can actually fit my hand in comfortably. And even that wasn't comfortable. It was so stiff on the inside. All I got to do with this glove is just... And this is a 14-ounce pair, and it slid right on, just like a glove should, in my opinion. I do have to move the material around on the inside a little bit. It does crease over itself, but it's not that bad compared to what it was before. My fingers have creeped out a little bit, but compared to those, my fingers creep out, and it's as easy as me just making a fist compared to my fingers would creep out past the grip bar in the old ones. When I strap this on tight, right there, it's not going anywhere. The bottom of my wrist is really secure. The foam actually on the bar right here on the forearm actually feels a lot more secure as well, and it feels softer, so it actually hugs around my arm more. And you can see that the strap is actually going up at an angle because that's where the glove is actually locking onto my hand at like a nice ergonomic angle, which I really like. It kind of reminds me of some rival gloves, the way that the wrist strap kind of works in some ways. It doesn't come off at quite that severe of an angle, but it still feels like that type of thing's happening where it's actually collapsing on the inside of my hand, which is good, in a good way. The padding, like I said, is a little bit softer, so it has that puncher / pillow style hybrid, I would say. It's not a bad feel at all, and it feels really nice. It protects my hands. And I like that it's more flexible now because, like I said, you can see that this padding was more rounded and bulbous, kind of going down towards the bottom, compared to this being a little bit more sharper of an edge. So when I open my hand up, it kind of goes up and down like this. And I now have super strong grips. So if you got a guy like Alex Pereira, who was a Glory kickboxing champion, has good clinch, right? Although they don't use clinch in Glory really. It's more K1 rules, but still has good clinch. Max Holloway has a good clinch. Sean O'Malley has a good clinch, all right? And you can get really, really good clinch work going on here. Nice grips with the glove that you have now compared to what you had before. The wrist support feels so much better, though I do wish that maybe there was some padding a little bit more on the back of the wrist and the wrist strap went up a little bit more, because where my wrist is just about dead on the center where the separation happens between the wrist cuff and the actual back of the hand. Maybe put a little bit of padding there that would make it a little bit better, but honestly, it doesn't bother me because the wrist does not go down at all. It stays in a natural position. The other glove forced it so far down that you'd have to correct it to get back to a natural fist position, whereas this rest position, there's my knuckles right there. Bang. And that's all I gotta do is turn my hand over, whether it's uppercuts, hooks, straights, whatever it might be. My knuckles are landing right there. It's not the tips of my fingers, it's not the back of my hand. My knuckles line up right there. The thumb is a little bit more flexible as well to open and catch punches, to parry and to, roll punches out, which is always good as well. So I really do enjoy that. Now when it comes down to the interior lining as well, I have more room on the inside of this glove to wrap my hands up big if I wanted to. So if you are, more of a professional boxer and you want to wrap your hands up big, have your coach wrap your hands up like with fight or training wraps, you can do that with this glove. Compared to the last one, there was no room at all. It was so cramped on the back of the hand, whereas this case feels really good on the back of the hand. My one big drawback that I would say is that the Velcro is still very weak, and it does fall off like that very easily. So I'll strap this down tight. You can see it comes off very easily. So I have to tape these down still. So if you're going to pay $150 for a pair of gloves, I would just expect that the Velcro would be better than a very cheap pair of gloves that you can get from anywhere else. And that's basically like my biggest complaint on the gloves. I actually strapped this so tight. It was actually so good on my arm that my arm was kind of getting numb because I strapped it too tight. But that's the idea. It's just the Velcro is still kind of weak. But overall, it feels so much better on your hand. It hugs your wrist so well. And I love the durability of the glove and the fact that the engineered leather feels like really good, real quality leather. And that's the same thing as the original as well. That was my biggest thing about the original. I said the outer shell got me so excited when I took it out of the box, the fancy box that they have with it. But the rest of the glove was such a disappointment. Whereas this glove, not so much. Now, it does in some ways feel like the Gold Strike. I definitely like these more than the Gold Strike. I would say these are probably my favorite gloves by Sanabul now, if not still the Battle Fords. I really like the Battle Fords Muay Thai gloves they have because they just fit snug on my wrist, they fit snug on my hand, and I'm able to just let fly with my hands with those gloves. They are really nice Thai gloves, actually. But these are a really close second, if not tied with the Battle Fords. I like these a lot, slightly more than the Gold Strike. I think the padding's a little bit better than the Gold Strike. I think the wrist support's just about there with the Gold Strike, and I think overall the comfortability of these gloves is better than the Gold Strike. But what is my final rating for the 2.0 version of the Lab Series? Well, this is going to be a lot better than the 4 out of 10 that I gave them last time in the F tier that I gave them, which is poor. No, it goes poor then terrible. Terrible is F tier. I give these a B tier. They're a good glove, and I give them a 8 out of 10. I've enjoyed using these a lot, but like I said, there are just some things that I would still prefer for that price range of $150 compared to these. Would I get these over Everlast Power Locks now? I'd put them right at Power Lock level. I think they're still very good gloves, but they would be very difficult to compete with Power Locks. I like the original Power Locks more than the Power Lock 2 a little bit in some ways, but for me, these are right there with the Power Locks. The only thing is Power Locks are $100, a $50 difference right there. And also for me, I'd say that like there's still the whole Sabas lineup. Sabas is a super underrated brand, and I haven't reviewed enough of their stuff, but Sabas for me, some of the best gloves out there. For that price range of like 120 to 150, I would prefer Sabas. I would prefer some rival gloves that go for like the $100, $150 mark. And then also you're going to start making people question, so they just commit to the extra $50 to get, say, a pair of Reyes, to get a pair of, higher end Everlast, or to get a higher end pair of Rivals, Adidas's, all those big boxing names. Obviously, you're not going to get a pair of Winnings with that, but, you're still $50 away from that. But if you sold these gloves for like 100 flat, I think these would fly off the shelves just like the Power Locks would, because they'd be more accessible to people, and you can have a real good professional level glove for $100. That's why the Power Locks can't be beat. But it's also Everlast. They're the biggest brand in the world, and I don't care who disputes that. They're the biggest brand in the world when it comes to boxing equipment. The other part why I kind of knocked the other point off was the Velcro is still just so weak, and it just makes it impossible. You have to tape it down all the time. It flakes off if you throw a punch, let alone someone punches you. And I wish the wrist support was slightly better, but that's still as not nearly as bad as it used to be. But here's the reason why they get such a high score, and you know what? Why I say these things, why they're such a good glove now. They made the changes. Like I said, if you brought that up to Everlast, they wouldn't care. They just want your money. Sanabul, yes, they're out to get money. Obviously, everyone is. I'm out to get money a bunch of times when I don't go to work because I like to just do it for nothing, But at the end of the day, these gloves were made because Sanabul wanted to be better. You know what I mean? That's the idea behind these gloves. And that's why I absolutely love the fact that they made all the improvements. And it is such a better glove because of it. To a point where I'm now happy I can look at that spot on my shelf and say, I want to use the Lab Series today. But like I said, there are still some other options for $150 that I would prefer, like Top Boxer, Sabas, some rival options that you have out there. But I still think these beat a lot of other gloves nowadays, now that they made those improvements. So to me, bravo to Sanabul. I think they should really take pride in the fact that they made the improvements that people asked for. So with that said, everybody, thank you so much for watching this episode. I really appreciate all your support. We're already at 8.75 thousand subscribers, which to me is absolutely crazy, and we're almost to 9,000. So please like and subscribe, hit that notification bell. It's a small click for you, but it means a lot to the channel. And above all, comment below. Let me know what you thought about this review. Fair warning, if you comment that I got this for money and why I made it such a better review, I'm probably not going to be too nice to you right off the bat, because I take pride in this, and I'm really proud about not only my collection, but the fact that I've actually helped a lot of people, and I would never, ever jeopardize, once again, those three things: my training, my money, and my safety. Those three things, you mess with me, I'm not a happy camper, and nor would you be. So with that said, guys, thank you so much. Comment below what you think I should review next. We're almost done with the Sanabul Mini Marathon. Next up is actually another 2.0 version of an MMA sparring glove by Sanabul that I think you're really going to like. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.